So thank you everyone for joining. We are here for the demo of ChartHop and their AI features, which I'm really excited about. We have Justin, who's in their product marketing space, to take us through. He knows all about the product, which I'm very excited about to hear. So thanks for joining us, Justin.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I'm excited to show you the
Yeah,
AI
it's
features today in ChartHop. Yeah.
going to be so fun. Like, I've been waiting for this, honestly. I think for about a year, I've been waiting to coordinate getting a demo, like a deeper demo, not just like the high level. So this is like, I'm super excited to see like more and more of the tool. And Tammy is here as a co-host. So Tammy and I have known each other for a while. We're very excited to dive into the tool together. She's obviously worked in the HR space for a long time. Now she is doing her own thing as well.
Yeah,
So now
great.
she's available. So if anyone's looking, we'll definitely reach out to Tammy. But that being said, thanks again for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And now, Justin, we're here to talk about ChartHop and see it, but I don't know if everyone in the audience actually knows what ChartHop actually is or how it started. So if you want to share a little bit about that, and then we can jump into the actual demo.
Yeah, it's great. ChartHop is I think the best way to describe it is a visual people operations platform that unifies your data, your HR and people data, to essentially create like a people data lake of sorts, and then you can use that to visualize that information and then use AI to gain additional insights. So I think what makes us unique in the space is with ChartHop, we really believe that visualizing your data is what helps you understand what the data is telling you and what it's saying. And that because all the data is brought together in a single data store, you don't have silos of data as you try to do different things in ChartHop. You know, whether you're doing something like onboarding or you're maybe essentially setting up a headcount plan, all that same data is approachable in each of those different workflows or scenarios. So it's all very connected, and then it connects with your business data, whether it's like sales data or customer service data, because we truly believe that when you bring in your business data and look at it through the lens of people, you start to get an understanding of your organization that is just at a completely different level. And so it allows you to make really incredibly informative decisions on where to take your organization next. It started because Ian, the founder, was in a different startup, and he was frustrated that there was no tools to help him organize ideas and how he might want to change his organizational design as it evolved and moved forward. And so he built a way where you can have a safe sandbox to do headcount planning in a very visual way with drag and drop, moving people around an org chart and model out different scenarios that he might consider. And that's what started ChartHop from the beginning, and it's evolved since then.
I really like that. It's a really interesting beginning because I feel like that's one of the foundations that is really missing in a lot of tooling, or that a lot of teams don't actually have, is the data layer, but also that ability to do proper workforce planning and visualize it in a way that isn't just like an Excel spreadsheet that no one can touch, right?
Right.
That's very, very cool. I think we're going to see some interesting stuff soon. So why don't you get up your screen, Justin, and we can jump into seeing the tool.
Great. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I really like this idea of when you're kind of looking at finance and combining all of that as well, because so often as an HR professional, when I've been kind of looking at workforce planning, having to go have a conversation with finance and putting all the data together. So I'm really excited to see how this can kind of come together.
So this is a demo account, and this can be modified or changed depending on your organization and what you want to see when you first log into ChartHop. I'm going to revisit this AI question that's at the top here. I'll come back to that, but I want to show you some different views around ChartHop and how you might look at your data in a more visual way, and then we'll come back to the AI capabilities. So one of the key features that we're kind of known for in the space in HR platforms is how prominent the org chart is in our software. It is, a classic org chart which shows management structures. It's very visual, but what makes ours different is how data kind of interacts with it. So I can look at department here and all of a sudden change, add location in addition to department, but maybe I want to add some data as well and look at like base salary. And if I've got an admin view, I'm able to look at all this information. I can even basically take out those and just look at base. And you can see not only does the data show there, but it's also heat mapped. So I can see it in a slight gradient from dark green to light green to show those different amounts. And I could change that also, let's say, based on like something like tenure at the company. So it doesn't have to be just finance data. It can be any data that's stored in ChartHop. And all of that is available to view in something like an org chart like this. Now, what makes this even more unique is I can also look at this over time. So in ChartHop, all data is time tracked. So I can look at my organization from a couple years ago and how it might have evolved to where it is today, and see how departments changed and how maybe salaries change or other data that I'm looking at. And that gives you a lot of power in ChartHop to understand your organization, because a lot of times what you're comparing your organization to is not necessarily another organization out in the market, but where you came from and how you've evolved yourselves. You can also do very quick filters. So I could just look at, let's say, the revenue department and all of a sudden look at just this department, and you can see that everything is also kind of grayed out, and now I'm looking at just revenue. So this filtering ability is prominent on all views across ChartHop. But here I'm looking at like all compensation across the whole company. Another thing that we've added is a permission structure that basically every person is set up through a permission structure that only allows them to see the data that's relevant to their role, and that can be customized per organization. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to view as, let's say, Barry. He is the chief
While you do
financial
that,
officer.
that is really, I'm just like looking at this. I mean, the chart, it's nothing that I've never had a powerful org chart.
No.
Have
I mean,
you?
I love that you can, no, I mean, I love the fact that you can see where an organization went and then where it is. I just
Yeah.
think of so often when you're like having to dig through like old Excel data of somebody who had a PowerPoint presentation some time ago about where the org was and how it's grown. This is makes conversation so much quicker and so much more efficient. I love it.
Yeah.
So if I take somebody like Joanna Bell and I'm looking at her, now you can see that I can't see any of the comp data on the rest of the organization, but I can see hers and I can see her teams. So that means that permission structures aren't based on necessarily workflows, they're based on data fields. And so that allows you to, as you traverse ChartHop, you can look at all sorts of views and have the safety knowing that whoever's looking at the data, even though it's all in one data store, their permission structure only allows them to see what they need to see.
That's important. And
So
maybe what about how is it? I mean, obviously, if you've got AI and the tooling and everything, you guys are conscious of, security and data and everything like that. What's your kind of approach to that?
yeah, so because the permission structure is tied to the user and their role and to the fields that they have access to, every view that I look at, whether it's a dashboard where I'm looking at something like an executive dashboard here, this is only the data that you have access to as a user. If this dashboard is shared to you, is only viewable as a user when you're looking at that, if you've got that permission. So it's not like you have to create a chart that essentially shows this is only for this group, and I need to make sure that I'm refining this down to make sure that only the people that I'm sharing this with can be able to look at this. Sorry, demo, little spinning wheels here. Let's go to the data sheet. So if I'm looking at this and all of a sudden I'm sharing this with somebody else that's in the organization, I have the confidence that they're only going to be able to see the fields that are visible here that their role or their permission allows them to see.
Yeah.
So it means that I can like really kind of navigate around ChartHop with a lot of expertise, not worry too much as I'm sharing this out, because each role essentially is defining their permission structure.
So even if you share like a dashboard with someone and they open it, if they're logged in as them, obviously, and they get that dashboard, if they shouldn't see stuff in there, it just won't show it.
That's right. Yeah. And it can work dynamically too. So if I'm setting up a dashboard where I say, show, let's say things like compensation, aggregates, and breakdowns, depending on your role, you're going to see it based on your team. So I can create one dashboard and it dynamically adjusts to everybody that's in the organization.
Yeah, that's really great. I love that.
Do you remember Tammy like probably going into like Excel sheets and being like permissions and copy, duplicate, take out data, like the web like
Deletes, and then someone's name is in there by mistake, and then you think like your career's over in that moment.
yeah, be like, did I share the wrong date, the wrong person get access to this
Yeah,
sheet?
you would have no worries about having the confidence to be able to share something like that. Yeah.
I mean, that's good.
So on those main views that I was showing earlier, I do want to show here I've logged in as Joanna Bell. She's in the product team. And you can see that these prompts in the AI that's on the AI question space that's on the main homepage has product prompts built into there. That's because it understands her role and is suggesting specific queries that she might want to ask in her role. If I change that user, you would see different prompts there. So not only is the AI allow you to have the kind of permission structure to give you the security and the confidence that the person can only see what they need to see, the AI also adapts to each role and kind of gives them suggestions on things that they might want to look at. What I
Would
wanted to
you
hear
have
is sort of
things
like,
like
go ahead,
would
yeah.
you have things like a company like values and kind of those types of things that are built into the system so that it can then direct questions in a particular way? Is that how
Yeah, that's
intuitive the
right.
AI becomes?
I could ask
Wow.
something like,
Okay.
my partner and I are expecting a new baby. What is our parental leave policy? So typical questions that maybe someone in HR might get from somebody in the company. We have an area in our product called resources with our HRS product, and that allows you to create like a wiki of all sorts of information around your company. It could be, like you said, brand and voice guidelines, and but it also could be things like parental leave. And so not only do I get my answer in the chat here, I also am redirected to the page that has more information about that. So it really acts as a self-service for everything related to the company information if you set it up that way.
Are you able to bring external sources in, or is it you load them in, or you put them in
No,
here?
you can bring extra sources in. We have an option called business data tables. So, for instance, at ChartHop ourselves, we bring in all of our marketing material, and anyone in sales can say, "Hey, I'm talking to a customer that is interested in our compensation planning product. What are some videos I could share with them after the call?" And it will give you the links to all those videos. So you can
Oh,
really enable your whole business to be powered through this.
Wow, it's so cool.
that is cool.
Let me try something else. This is a huge lifesaver for a lot of professionals in HR, because you know how often it is that you get asked to generate a list of employees for some reason, and then you have to figure out how to set up the filters to be able to do that. Well, at ChartUp, we've always had a really powerful language called CQL that allows you, if you're nerding out, you can learn how to use that query language and do some very sophisticated filtering. We also have a UI that is drag and drop, and you can select just by using the UI. But we've also empowered our AI to do the same thing, and you can do some very powerful filtering just using AI. So I'll say, create a list of full-time employees in the US that have been at the company longer than 3 years. Oops. It'll correct my years. So it will take that query, which might take a little while to set up all those filters, and move me over to the data sheet, which is our main spreadsheet kind of interface to all the data. And it is, if you can see here, it's written that filter for me. I don't have to worry about going into the UI and setting it up. And I can even refine from here. I could say, remove all executive.
Oh my gosh, I love this. It's Jess, it's the same what we're saying, like you going into the spreadsheet manually and having to remove people. It's great.
Yeah, so right there, it just removed all executive positions and from the results, and now I have that refined.
And also what I
Uh,
like is that it shows you in the chat, but also takes you to it in the system, which I quite like, that it's just like jumping you there and like, yeah.
yeah, I think that's what makes our AI so unique is it's not just sitting on top, and it's not just a chat that gives you links. It actually redirects what you're doing in the platform. So it's almost like a show and tell, and brings you to the source of truth. So it might have a summary here in the chat window, but ultimately the source of truth, as it relates to this like nice, convenient way to sum up the information in the chat window, is the data sheet that it generated. Now I can take this data sheet and go share this with export to a CSV or sync to Google Sheets or export for some reason for another system.
And is there so this is like asking questions, getting an answer about data. Is there a way to like get insights, or like create like, I don't know, I need a I don't know, I want to know what is the turnover of the company, or is there, this
Yeah.
kind of like more insights rather than the dashboard? Like what do I get from that data that I could use to like make decisions?
Absolutely. When we go into insights, we could ask something like, and let's bring in some business data too. So let's say, who on the sales team is achieving their quota this quarter. So to know this, it has to know who's on the sales team, and it has to know what their quota is, and it has to know how they're achieving against that quota, and then it has to essentially filter those results. So here it is processing that request.
And how does it get that data? Like, where does it sit? And how does it get into ChartHop? Through
Yeah,
your
so
modules that you have? Yeah, I guess you'll talk about it.
we
Sorry,
have a
jump
lot
in.
of we have a lot of integration. So we have one with Salesforce, so you can import Salesforce data directly into ChartHop. You can also import CSV files, Google Sheets, and you can have those sync live. So as those sources change, they dynamically update in ChartHop.
Okay.
So here we have this this list of employees, their quota, and their percentage of attainment. And not only does it give me a nice summary here, 12 out of the 26 sales members are achieving or exceeding their quota this quarter. It tells me who the top performers are, but also it gives me this data sheet again as a result, so I can use this to kind of export out or work in other ways. One other thing I wanted to show you in our AI tool is sometimes just visualizing information, like in a dashboard, can be a lot of work. So I could do something like create a graph of trend, let's say a trend graph of headcount over the past 5 years by department. And we prided ourselves in trying to make a very easy to use product. So this isn't a hard task. You go to graphs, you pick a trend chart, you pick a headcount by department. It's all UI and it's very easy to use. But the fact that I can just type this in and it will create this for me.
Well, it is also just much faster, right? You can just be like, just make it rather than have to be like, I'm now going to go in and spend that 10 minutes to make it.
Yeah, creating a pivot table or something.
So here it makes it for me, but I'll say, you know what, I
Great.
want this. Can you make this in an area chart and change increment by month? So it's right now it's in a line chart by year. I'm going to change it to area chart so I can see it stacked up, and also have it changed to month. And so first it'll change the area chart, and now it's by month and area there. And I could also ask it to again do something like remove all U.S. employees. And so now it can add that filter as well to the chart, and it will generate that filter and add it to the filtering area. And change it to a stack chart for some reason, but let's
maybe it was trying to tell us that it would look better in that kind of chart, which personally I do find easier to read anyway. So I was like, I would have the chart style anyway. But that's really cool. And how you're finding the customers, is this, when did it release, and is people adopting it, people using it? What kind of data?
Yeah, I think what's been amazing is how customers we've had two types of customers. We have customers that have adopted our AI capabilities. And at first they basically roll them out. We make it available so you can roll it out first to just your HR team or your smaller team to test it out and see what it can do. And then the option to roll it out org-wide. And we've seen incredible adoption so far of the AI capabilities, saving tons of time, not only from HR professionals doing what I just showed you, generating dashboards and lists, but also to leaders essentially getting insight into larger organizational trends and correlations of data. So you could do something like, hey, we're looking to acquire this type of company. Who would be the best candidates for a tiger team to assemble together to kind of evaluate that? It'll look at skills, it'll look at past projects they've worked on, that type of thing. Or you could go down to the employee, like I said, and say, hey, I'm about to travel to a company event. What's the expense policy per day for lunch? And I'll just give you that answer as well. So it'll take care of all those. What's been amazing in my mind is when you look at how there are users now that what is this? Sorry. There we go. We have users now that, let me go back to here, sorry. That their first experience with some LinkedIn thing there, yeah. Let me go back to here. No, did it again, weird. Okay. I'm just saying there's users now that their first experience with ChartHop is now as an AI first experience. So, we've always had, people that have gotten into ChartHop use the UI, but we now have professionals that are going in, and the first thing they do is go to Ask ChartHop, and that's how they essentially have that as their primary interface to look at like what ChartHop can do there.
I think what I
So,
like about that is it empowers the business. So it's not just over this heavy reliance on HR. I mean, if you're saying that people in the business and managers and finance are able to understand more about their own team, I really like the idea of them being empowered to do that. But also as the collaboration, I think it really improves. And so having this kind of data on your fingertips is super helpful.
yeah, it is incredible. And what it allows us to do is understand how that an AI is not just a companion or a co-pilot, but it is a primary interface to essentially speak in a more natural language, because we can all think of like what we want a system to do. To then try to translate that sometimes into clicks and navigation is hard, especially as you're learning a new platform. To be able to just like say that in a text box and for it to interpret that and know where to go, it's pretty phenomenal.
That is true, actually. It kind of makes the speed of learning a new tool actually faster. So, like, let's say I've never worked with ChartHop. Well, I haven't worked with it in a business, but I've worked with other tools, so I would know how that works. And coming into this tool, it'd be like, oh, I got to relearn how to do everything. Yes, some things are the same, but if you can just like ask it stuff and it does it and it gives you the answers, it's also means you can be much faster, like you said, into your job and making use and value out of the tool and like what you need to actually get for the business. That's really cool. I mean, it's kind of like ChatGPT now, like I ask it everything. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah. I
like,
think what makes it. I think where we see a lot of excitement with our customers is yes, ChatGPT and Claude and others are good examples of how to essentially interact with information and get answers back. There's always this concern in HR of getting sensitive data from your company out to those more broadly used tools, and like what's the permission structure to give you the confidence that your employees can use something like that safely and securely. And even when you're using something like ChatGPT and those tools, even if you have it buttoned up with your company, it's like if you provide it, let's say, access to all of your information in your company, let's say with compensation, other sensitive data, having the confidence that when somebody in your team asks a question that it knows to navigate and say this person should or shouldn't see this specific piece of data or not is very challenging, right? That's something that they're trying to work out. At ChartUp, that's all built in. So that if somebody's using AI and I basically said something like, hey, how is my salary compared to everybody else in the company? It's going to say, you can ask that.
The $1 million question that everybody wants to find.
Yeah, exactly. So the way we built it
do you
is,
reckon people actually ask that? Do you reckon people are just like, let's just test this and be
yeah,
like,
well, they'll test it. Everyone tests everything. But I think what's interesting is if the reason why it works that way in ChartUp is the AI works on your behalf. So it's almost using you as a user or a lens to see everything through. So that's how it's not like we scrub it on the way back when the answer comes back. The answer it has access to is limited by your role and your access.
So if the organization's wanting to improve in particular responses and so forth, are they able to see like the most common kind of questions that are being asked so as to kind of then understand where things need to be improved or communication, etc.?
Yeah, that's what we're currently rolling out now is a
Oh, great.
monitoring way to look at categories and the nature of the types of questions that employees are asking. So we really want to make sure that we preserve privacy on behalf of the user, but also visibility on behalf of the organization to understand the nature of the types of queries that employees
yeah.
are engaging in.
So it's starting to become almost not a ticketing system, but in the same idea that, people, if you go in and you're like, I've got a ticket for HR, I've got a question, right? That's like the traditional way that we've had been doing it. You raise a ticket, you maybe get an answer 20,000 days later. You don't really, if you even have a ticketing system, or it goes into like an email and you never see it, right? So that's like the experience that a lot of people have with HR is this, goes into a black hole. You don't know when you're going to get a response, or HR get overwhelmed because it's a ticketing system, an email, a Slack message, and you've got too many channels, right? That's also the case, but it really is hard then for data, like to bring that data together to know like what are the biggest issues the company has.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And
Right.
how can we improve our policies, or like you said, Tammy, communications, or what is it really that people need to know that they don't know, that's why they're asking questions. And I feel like I think it's the perfect thing to have coming, because you've already got the data and you've already got the interface and you've already got all of that. So now this is just like another step on like it's almost like organizational health to some degree. It's like where are the bits that we need to just improve, but from a
Right, right.
almost from a HR perspective, like knowing how to prioritize. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
how.
exactly. They'll be super helpful because, as you're saying, it's not many organizations will be kind of set in terms of the ticketing and all of that. But like to be honest, like to have something that's all in one place and getting an idea of what are the common threads is incredibly helpful to understand. So you know how to kind of push that information out.
Absolutely. You know what I really want to see, and I've talked about there's some companies I think in this, more like ticketing space or like
Mm.
trying to like really look at how, it's not just about asking the question and getting the answer or like what are the common themes, but like being like these are the common themes. Here's the priority for change, and here's the suggested changes to your documents, or here's the suggested action plan to address the fact that this is like your priority now, right?
Yeah.
Like, so going like that step and step and step. So it's like if you can build on all of those and go, what is the next most useful thing that this can do? That's where I think AI starts to get really, really amazing in terms of productivity, but also just speed of delivery of all those
Mm.
backlog that HR have. Like HR have a backlog. Like how do you keep policies up to date? How do you know like who's the
Yeah.
last person who looked at this? Like that's stuff that can just like be brought up. Like this is going to be checked. We're going to have a check on this every quarter when it's to do with, legal stuff or like I feel like there's just a lot that can happen when you bring that in, Justin, like when you bring in that data of what's being asked, analyzing the questions, understanding it, then you look at okay, now how do we action on all of that?
Right,
Um,
right.
and make it as easy as possible, right? I feel like that's where everything's going. So I'm excited. But what you have now is already
Yeah, incredible.
inspiring what I had.
Well,
Yeah, me too.
our
I'm
goal is
like, where
to,
were you? Where were
yeah.
you when I was doing all of this?
Well, we're thrilled the most at ChartHop when we can save companies and teams a ton of time on what they're trying to do and what takes a lot of effort to do every day. And then essentially to elevate that to where you actually get true organizational insight,
Yeah.
And then going back to the planning foundation of ChartHop, we have the ability to essentially use the AI now to draft out initial headcount plans based on organizational like insights. So you could say, we're thinking about expanding our business into a new area. Could you base that on the current, this city or this metro of employees and essentially add 20% production? And it'll start to draft out some positions and roles that you might need to consider to essentially make that move. And so not only can you use ChartUp to do your headcount planning, you can also use the AI insights to help kind of start to carve that out for you and understand what a healthy expansion might look like for your organization.
That's pretty cool. Just I don't know. I feel like I'm really excited every time I see a tool. I'm just like desperate. Like why didn't I have this?
Yeah, exactly.
Like like everything has drastically changed in the last years, and the improvements in all the products and just what people like what's being released now is just fantastic. So I think also good to see it because I don't think everyone knows, what the traditional HRES or like these, all-in-ones, like what does that actually mean? Because like you're not a traditional all-in-one. You're not working with this kind of technology. You're keeping up, you're bringing out new things, and you're making it easier for people. And I think that's why I do these demos because otherwise people don't necessarily reach out and find out. I definitely didn't back then. So, now,
The last
um,
thing I would just say is everything that I showed in terms of the Ask ChartUp is also available in mobile. So we have mobile apps where you can ask us.
Oh, wow.
So if you've ever been away from your desk
Yeah.
over the weekend and need to get those answers, you can also get that on our mobile app as well.
I mean, that's
I mean, when
great.
I'm running off to a meeting and I need like a quick question of something, that would be amazing just to have that on hand.
Oh, when I shouldn't be working, but like on the weekends when you just like don't have your laptop at home, yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Great. We're going to talk about weekend working. Um, that was great. Thank you so much, Justin. I mean,
Yeah,
for
thanks for
everyone,
having me. Really fun.
I hope it was informative. Hope you've seen something you haven't seen before. You can obviously find out more by reaching out to Justin, to the team. Again, everyone, I feel like I say this every time, but all the teams that I work with, like all the companies that are on Stacked, they're wonderful. They are very happy to have, chats with people, talk about their product, but also talk about what's going on in the space. I think too, there's lots of people who want to have those discussions and see what your challenges are. So reach out to the team. You can find more about them on Stacked. You can also reach out to them directly. And of course, thank you, Tammy, for joining,
You're
asking
welcome.
questions. And of course, you can also reach out to Tammy. She's wonderful. She's worked for a long time in this space. She's also happy to have, discussions. Her and I talk quite a lot. So,
Yeah.
I think the whole point of all this is connect and share. So that's what I love about these demos. People end up having discussions afterwards. So thank you everyone for joining, and that's it. We're done. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.